3,000 years ago, Persian engineers cooled entire cities to comfortable temperatures in the middle of a desert where
summer temperatures climbed above 104 degrees Fahrenheit. They did it without compressors, without refrigerants,
the airflow must
and without
be precise
electricity.
Here to cool the lower levels.
Instead of fighting the heat with machines, they buried clay
the modern air
pipes
conditioning
underground
industry made
and
sure
let
you
the
never
earth do
learned
the
about
work
it.
for them.
By the end of this
The ground
video,
itself
you will discover
became a
why
natural
and
air
how to build one
conditioner.
yourself.
That idea
Using
sounds almost
sophisticated
impossible
techniques,
today, especially in a world where modern cooling seems inseparable from power-hungry HVAC systems. Yet this ancient method was real practical and astonishingly effective. Even more remarkable, its core principle has never stopped being true. So why do so few people know about it? Why has one of the oldest and simplest cooling strategies in human history been pushed to the margins,
proved it with the
while
Qanat
expensive
and the
mechanical systems
the
dominate
Egyptians
the
proved
world?
it with
By
subterranean
the end of this
ventilation
video,
shafts.
you will
the Romans
understand
proved
how
it with
this
the
forgotten technology worked, why it was overlooked, and how a modern version of the same idea can still be built today. Across history, every civilization that endured extreme heat eventually discovered the same truth: the earth stays cool. No matter the
In ancient
continent,
Persia,
the
as
century,
early as the
or the
7th century
culture, people facing
BCE,
brutal
engineers
climates
constructed
reached the same
qanats.
conclusion.
These were underground
If air
water
could be
channels,
pushed
cars
through
lined
enough
with cold
mass,
underground water.
the ground itself
By the
could
time that
strip
air
away
reached the
heat
building
and
above,
make life bearable.
it was cool enough to
The
make
Persians
desert
proved it
summers
with qanats
survivable.
and wind catchers. The Egyptians used subterranean ventilation shafts. The Romans developed shaded and partially underground structures, such as the Cryptoporticus. Different names, different building traditions, but the exact same physics. In ancient Persia, as early as the 7th century, BCE engineers built qanats, underground water channels, carved through soil and bedrock, sometimes extending for miles beneath the desert. These channels were designed primarily to transport water, but they also created an extraordinary cooling effect.
Materials.
Hot,
It
dry
simply
desert
catches the
air
wind and
entered
drives it
through vertical
underground,
shafts
where the earth
and
strips
moved
away
along
the heat
passages
because it
cooled
was
by
a relic.
contact with underground water and the surrounding earth. By the time that air reached the buildings above, much of its heat had been removed. When combined with tall wind catchers known as budgers, the system became even more powerful. These towers captured moving air above the rooftops and directed it downward into the structure and into subterranean channels.
Cool
The
interior
result was
air
continuous
today.
ventilation and passive
Different
cooling
empires,
through homes and
different
public
tools,
buildings, all without motors,
same discovery.
electricity,
The ground
or
below a
mechanical
certain
parts.
depth holds a nearly
What makes
constant
this so
temperature
important is not just the ingenuity of one empire. It is the fact that multiple civilizations, separated by geography and time, all uncovered the same natural solution hidden beneath their feet. This was not just an ancient theory. In several places, the evidence still stands.
From the Qanats
In Yaz,
of
the
Persia
desert
to
city
the
in
Nymphaean
central Iran,
world
the famous
and the
wind
Nevier of
catcher
Sicily.
at
These
Dawlatabad
ancient
Garden
civilizations,
rises
while
about
the surface
33
temperature
meters into the
fluctuates
sky.
wildly with the
It still
seasons, the
demonstrates
earth
the
below
same
about 2
elegant
meters
principle
maintains a
that
nearly
Persian
constant
builders
temperature
understood
year-round.
thousands of years ago,
Since Persia,
capture the wind,
at roughly
send
2
it
meters
through
below the
cooler
surface,
underground
the
spaces,
soil
and
maintains
let
a
the
nearly
earth remove
constant
the heat.
temperature runs out.
No electricity, no
You bury a
synthetic
long
cooling
pipe
agents,
underground.
no
You draw
pollution-heavy
outdoor air.
machinery.
The
Just
earth tube
airflow,
system
stone
utilizes
water, and
consistent soil
temperature
depth
difference.
to naturally
That
cool
is
the
one
airflow.
reason UNESCO
As air
recognized the
moves through the
Persian
buried
qanat
pipe,
system as a World Heritage Tradition in 2016. It was not honored merely as an archaeological curiosity, but as a working example of long-lasting engineering wisdom. The system survived because it was practical. The Romans applied similar ideas on a larger and more monumental scale, using underground passages and deep shafts to manage air and temperature. In Palermo, Sicily, a qanat network developed during the Arab period helped cool sections of the city. One of its best-known examples, the Skirokuru,
the surrounding
still
cool
uses
soil
flowing
absorbs
water
the excess
and
heat.
an air-guiding
By the
structure
time
to
that air
reduce indoor
As
heat.
freezing air enters
These
the buried
examples
pipe,
matter
the
because they
stable
prove
warmth of the
something
earth
essential.
raises the temperature,
Passive
providing
underground
sustainable
cooling
heat
is
to
not
the
a
interior.
fantasy, not a trend,
The Earth
and
tube
not an
system
experiment
provides
waiting
dual
for
functionality.
validation.
In
It has
summer,
already been
it
validated
pre-cools
by
incoming
centuries
air,
of real-world
while in
use
Stable ground
across
temperature
different
warms it.
civilizations.
Free heating
Today,
and cooling
this
from a
ancient
single
idea is
buried
known by
tube
modern names
year-round.
such as the Earth Tube,
No compressor,
or in some
no
regions, the
refrigerant.
Canadian well.
Only one
The
small
terminology
fan,
has changed,
with the
but the
earth doing
physics
the
remain
thermal
exactly
work.
the same as they were in ancient Persia. A few feet below the surface, the temperature of the soil stays remarkably stable throughout the year. Summer heat waves do not penetrate deeply enough to affect it much, and winter cold snaps have limited influence at that depth. The Earth becomes a natural thermal reservoir. An earth tube system works in a simple way. A long pipe is buried underground, typically at a depth where the soil temperature remains relatively constant. A small fan draws outdoor air through that buried pipe before the air enters the house. On a hot summer day, the incoming air may start out painfully warm, but as it moves through the underground tube,
it cools air
the
by
cooler
10
surrounding
degrees
soil
Celsius.
absorbs a significant
A
portion of
2025
that heat.
study
By
published
the
in
time the air
Scientific
reaches the
Reports
building, it arrives
documented
noticeably
yearly energy
cooler.
saving rates
In winter,
uses
the process
42
works
buried
in
earth
reverse.
tubes,
Instead of
achieving
cooling the air,
51
the
to
earth pre-warms it.
56% lower
Freezing
total energy
outside
use
air
compared to a
passes
standard
through
building.
the same buried
And the
tube
system
and
lasts
picks up
50
heat
to
from the
100
ground
years.
before entering the home.
Here in Palermo,
That means
the key
one
to the
underground
villa's
system can
efficiency is
assist
the
with both
earth-air
cooling and
heat
heating
exchanger,
over the
utilizing
course
the
of a
stable
year.
ground
What
temperature.
makes this so compelling is its simplicity.
The
There is no
Cambridge Public
compressor,
Library
no
stands
refrigerant,
as a
and no
testament to
energy-intensive
sustainable
cooling
civic
cycle.
design.
The system relies mainly on stable soil temperature airflow and a modest fan turning the ground itself into a year-round climate moderator. Modern projects have already shown that this is more than an interesting historical concept. When designed properly, earth tube systems can deliver measurable energy savings in real buildings. Near Toronto, the Earth Rangers Center uses 9 concrete earth tubes each, about 20 meters long, and buried roughly 3 meters underground. In winter, the system can raise the temperature of incoming air by as much as 20 degrees Celsius. In summer, it can cool that same incoming air by around 10 degrees Celsius before it ever reaches the main mechanical equipment. Research has also documented significant performance
Fans pull into
gains.
driveways
A
every summer.
2025
The average
study
customer
reported
lifetime
annual
value for a
energy
single
savings of
residential
up to
HVAC
74% in Milan and more than 60% in Palermo when earth-air heat exchangers were integrated with air handling systems. That is not a marginal improvement. It is a major reduction in the amount of energy a building needs to stay comfortable. The Cambridge Public Library in the United States offers another strong example. Its design includes 42 buried earth tubes, and the system has been associated with total energy use reductions of roughly 51 to 56% compared with a conventional building of similar function. Then there is the question of lifespan. A well-built earth tube system can last 50 to 100 years. Conventional HVAC units often need major replacement after 15 to 25 years. That difference changes the economics completely. Earth tubes are not just efficient in the short term, they are durable enough to transform the long-term cost of climate control. If earth tubes are so effective, the obvious question is, why are they not everywhere? Why is nearly every new home still built around conventional air conditioning instead of a system humans have understood for centuries? The answer has far more to do with economics than with science. Modern HVAC is not just a technology, it is an industry built on recurring revenue. Equipment wears out, compressors fail, refrigerant leaks, filters need replacing, service calls become routine. Entire business models depend on systems that must be maintained, repaired, and eventually replaced. An earth tube disrupts that pattern. It is installed once buried underground and designed to last for decades. There is no compressor to swap out every 15 years, no refrigerant to recharge, and no endless chain of seasonal maintenance contracts. In many cases, the only active component is a relatively small fan that consumes very little electricity. From a homeowner's perspective, that simplicity is a strength. From the perspective of an industry built on repeat service, it is a problem. That helps explain why this technology receives so little attention compared to high-cost mechanical systems. A solution that works quietly for half a century does not generate the same steady stream of profit as one that requires constant intervention. So the absence of earth tubes from mainstream construction is not strong evidence that the idea failed. In many ways, it suggests something else. The systems that dominate the market are not always the ones that are simplest, longest lasting, or most aligned with the user's long-term interests. There is also a second barrier beyond economics regulation. Earth tube systems are not usually banned outright, but in many places they are poorly addressed by residential building codes. That creates a familiar problem. When inspectors encounter a system with no clear testing standard, no explicit installation pathway, and no widely recognized code language, the default response is often rejection. The main technical concern raised in these cases is radon. That concern is legitimate. Radon is a serious health risk, and any system that moves air through the ground must account for it carefully. But the existence of a risk does not mean the technology itself is unworkable. It means the design must be done properly. Europe provides an important contrast. Early installations in countries such as Germany, Austria, and Denmark revealed problems when builders use poor drainage, bad pipe selection, or sloppy detailing. Condensation and mold appeared in systems that were badly executed. Instead of abandoning the concept, European engineers developed better standards and better installation practices. That difference matters. The real lesson is not that earth tubes are inherently unsafe. It is that they require correct design-sealed construction, moisture control, and testing. Where those practices exist, the technology becomes far more practical and far less controversial. If you want to build an earth tube system, the first step is not digging. The first step is understanding your site. You need to know your soil type, the depth of your water table, and the radon risk in your area. Moist, dense soils generally transfer heat more effectively than dry, sandy ground. If your region has elevated radon potential, seal joints and post-installation testing become essential. For the pipe itself, smooth wall HDPE or PVC is the preferred choice. A minimum diameter of 6 inches is workable, while 8 inches is better for larger homes or warmer climates. The inside surface should be completely smooth. Corrugated pipe is a poor option because it traps condensation, collects debris, and creates an ideal environment for mold. The buried run typically spans 100 to 200 feet. If you use multiple parallel pipes, leave at least 6 feet of spacing between them, so they do not interfere thermally with one another. The trench depth is critical. Around 6 feet is often recommended to reach more stable ground temperatures. The entire pipe should slope continuously at roughly 2% toward the condensate collection point, so moisture cannot pool inside. At the trench bottom, use a compacted sand or granular bed, then backfill carefully to ensure full contact between the pipe and the surrounding soil. Air gaps reduce heat transfer and undermine performance. Every buried joint should be tightly sealed to block groundwater and radon entry. The outdoor intake should rise above ground level, include a screened downward-facing cap, and be placed away from exhaust traffic or other contaminants. Inside the house, the system is best paired with an HRV or ERV, along with an inline fan, proper filtration, condensate management, and continuous radon monitoring. For homes located in high radon areas, there is a safer alternative worth considering: the closed-loop glycol earth tube. Instead of sending air directly through buried pipes, this system circulates a water and glycol mixture through an underground loop. The tempered fluid then passes through an air-to-liquid heat exchanger inside the house, where it transfers heating or cooling to the incoming air. This approach avoids several major concerns at once. It eliminates a direct radon pathway, reduces the chance of internal condensation inside an air pipe, and greatly lowers the risk of mold growth. Although it may deliver slightly less thermal benefit than a direct air system, it can still capture most of the advantage while fitting more easily within existing plumbing and mechanical code frameworks. Heating and cooling account for a huge share of a building's total energy use. Most modern systems respond to that problem by adding more machinery, more complexity, and more dependence on a power grid that is often most fragile when demand is highest. Earth tubes offer a different philosophy. They do not solve the problem by overpowering nature. They solve it by cooperating with it. When a heat wave strikes and the grid fails, conventional air conditioning can shut down at the exact moment it is needed most. But the ground below your feet does not stop working. It does not need electricity to remain cool. It does not send you a monthly bill. It does not wear out on the same short cycle as conventional mechanical equipment. That is what makes this idea so powerful. Thousands of years ago, Persian builders solved desert cooling with a trench, a pipe, airflow, and patience. The tools were simple, but the understanding was profound, and the underlying physics has not changed. The Earth is still stable. The temperature below the surface is still usable. The principle still works. What was once dismissed as ancient ingenuity may actually be one of the most durable climate solutions available to the modern world.
Our feet.